What's up, Brad? All right. Lorraine, Nathan, welcome. Okay. All right. Where's... Oh, come on. All right. Grant should be a co-host. Now, we are doing a guest call today. So we can give everybody another minute or two to get going, and Grant can pull up his slides, materials, whatever he's gonna share with us today. And in like a minute or two, I'll let him take it away.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing really well.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Love that.
How about you?
Good. Yeah, busy but good.
Living the dream?
Glad that I did not take on more work, which I talked about in my email today.
It's an interesting dynamic around, wanting to make more money, but also not wanting to work as hard. There's a lot of mindset stuff there.
Yep. It's very easy to make more money by just working more hours and more hours and more hours. Challenge is how do you make more money while working the same or fewer hours? That's a lot harder nut to crack. So
That's it.
Anyway, I think we are a couple minutes into the call, and we've given everybody ample time to join if they're going to be here for the start. So at this point, I'm going to let Grant take it away. He's going to be talking about how he's gotten a bunch of clients using organic Facebook posts, organic Facebook marketing. So you're not buying ads, you're not paying for anything. It's all DIY and under your own power. So with that, Grant, you can take it away.
Sweet.
And then, we will do open Q&A after. So once Grant's done, he can stick around or he can go if he wants, and then I'll handle all the open Q&A questions like we usually do. So with that, Grant, all yours.
Yeah, I'll probably go here for about 20, 30 minutes, and then we should have plenty of time for questions. I kind of want to go through everything super fast. And then if somebody has like questions on specific parts, it's probably the best way to do it, because there's a lot of stuff to this whole Facebook organic thing. So there's probably going to be a ton of questions. Maybe, I don't know. So I did the typical Justin style, just putting together a Google Doc on like some of the higher level points of the stuff I'm going to talk about. So this is landing dream clients using Facebook organic marketing by being a effing human being. And that's a big thing throughout this whole thing, is just being a human being and using your Facebook profile and being a normal person to land clients. So there's 4 pillars that I really identified to this whole thing. And the first one is knowing where your dream clients hang out and finding them. So if you're only using Facebook to find clients, there's 2 different places they're going to hang out. They're going to hang out in Facebook groups. One of them is going to be paid and one of them is going to be free. There's places like the Nothing Held Back group that Alan Sultanic runs, Cult of Copy, the Direct Response Marketing Partners group, Justin and Stefan Talk Copy. Those are all free Facebook groups that anybody can join. And that's a lot of the time where, business owners are hanging out. They're either A, trying to hire copywriters, or B, they're trying to get insights into their own business. And then there's paid copy groups, obviously, and paid business groups like, CA, and there's a bunch of other ones, but I didn't really dive into trying to look for Facebook groups. That's one thing I noted at the top here was like this whole idea of doing it organically and not paying for ads and not using any other strategy, but trying to use Facebook organic is it's all time related. So you might not have, funds to run ads to your own website or anything like that. It's all time related. So a lot of this stuff it's going to sound time consuming, and that's kind of the point, because if you're newer and trying to get clients, or you're trying to get clients through this route, it is time consuming. And that's something you have to be aware of. So that's the first pillar, is knowing where your dream clients hang out and finding them. And you don't have to just do it through Facebook groups. Anytime you find, a business that you might want to work with, if you see an ad or anything, you go online, look up that business, try to find that business owner, who owns that business, who's the chief marketing officer, who runs ops, like anybody that you can find in the business, and go find them on Facebook and add them as a friend. That's really the first pivotal piece, is having people having your dream clients as friends on Facebook. Like that's the first thing that you have to tackle. The second fold is inserting yourself into their world. And that comes in multiple parts that we'll get to in a second. But the first way that you do that is posting in those Facebook groups that they're hanging out in. Like the first part is finding them, and then the second part is getting on their radar. The thing you want to watch out there for is not just posting, stuff about how much you're making as a copywriter, because no business owner cares that you're making $5,000 a month as a copywriter. That's not what I want to hear. They don't want to hire the guy that costs them a bunch of money. At the end of the day, yes, you can charge a lot of money, but that's not the thing that they want to hear about. First off, is you making a bunch of money. They want to hear, this is what I did for XYZ client, and this is how you can apply it to your own business. I want actionable insights. If I'm going to read your post, I don't just want to hear about how much money you're making as a copywriter. And I think that's a lot of what I see some copywriters doing, is like they're just posting about all the money that they're making, and they're not posting like, I did this for the client and this is the outcome and this is how you can apply it. I think Brian does a great job of that. Like, obviously he's articulating that he does cost a lot of money, but he's also sharing the insights of what he's actually doing.
Yeah. Also, just for context, my audience for my freelance like a pro business is not my clients for copy.
Right.
It's two totally different markets. One, I'm trying to bring in other freelancers to teach them how I've been a successful freelancer. That's not for my clients. I don't care. I actually hope my copy clients don't even read that. They don't pay attention to it. That's not what it's there for. The stuff that I talk about for my clients is actually mostly, I've made a couple posts here and there in the, in CA or in the Justin and Stefan Talk Copy group. But for the most part, the stuff that I talk about with my clients is offline. It's behind the scenes. It's messages, it's emails, it's meeting at events. So that I really handle that stuff mostly on a one-to-one basis, just like Grant is suggesting, is not sort of posting outwardly, but it's having these back channel side conversations to be able to cut through some of that clutter. So hopefully that's helpful context.
Yeah, definitely. And on the call yesterday, when Stefan was talking to Robert about kind of how to position himself as the expert, and that's what it comes down to, is when you are posting in these groups or you're posting on your Facebook profile, it's coming across as the expert. Like, I did this for this person. This is what happened. This is what they were doing before. This is what I came in and did. And these were the results. And that's what business owners want to see. They want to see people actually getting results, because it's hard to hire somebody like unproven and not knowing what you've done. So, you gotta go rack up those wins, and you got to share them, because if you're not sharing them, nobody knows what you did. Nobody's gonna want to hire you if you're not telling them what you did. So that's the second pillar, is posting in these various groups. And I have a little collection of some documents that I've put together that I think it's at the end of this thing, about how to structure posts and like what to post about and stuff like that, because that's like super in the weeds and not something I think we need to spend a whole bunch of time talking about. So the third pillar is getting noticed. And aside from posting in those groups, the second part of getting noticed is, it's a two-part thing. So the first is setting up your profile. And for this pillar about getting noticed, I really want to use, I don't know how many people are familiar with Nick Verge, but he's a fairly successful copywriter from what I know. He's known as like the VSL guy. He's coined himself that. He's worked with Jordan Belfort and like a bunch of other people. And I think he does a really good job of exactly like what we're trying to talk about today, of using his Facebook profile. He might not be trying to get clients doing this. I have no idea. But if he's not, it's probably working, even though he's like not aware that he's actually doing that. So it's going to take forever to load, because I have Zoom open and Google Chrome doesn't like Apple products. But so while that loads, so the first part of this getting noticed pillar is setting up your profile for like optimal success. So the way that I mostly use this was in my affiliate marketing days, selling other people's products using Facebook organic marketing. So the way that I see it, there's kind of two people. There's people like Nick who have just the right amount of stuff about what I do. So people, if you friend them, they go to your profile and they can clearly see what you do, but it's not like over the top where it's like, okay, you're obviously a copywriter. You're obviously trying to get clients, because it's like way too over the top. And that's, hopefully this is loaded. This is, so, okay, yeah, now it's loaded. So this is what I mean by like not being over the top, but people still being, this is a little over the top, but people being aware of what you're doing, but not so aware that it's like you're clearly a struggling copywriter trying to get clients. This is like, it's over the top, but in like a cocky, like arrogant way. And I think that's just the way, that's just Nick's personality, but he also has the ability to back it up. So if we just use him as an example, he just posts stuff and he's just acting like a human being, but he's also sharing stuff that gives you the inclination that he's really good at what he does. He's getting wins for clients. He's getting wins for, he has his own coaching program. So he's getting wins for his students. And that's what this pillar is all about getting noticed. So when he's posting work stuff, obviously wins he's getting for his clients, insights he's had working for other clients and stuff like that. One thing I learned from Ian Stanley is it's better to be different than it is to be better. So that's really what your Facebook profile allows you to do. Whatever you're posting separates you from everybody else. What are you interested in? What are you working on? What are you doing in your daily life that people might be interested in? It doesn't matter if they actually are, but that's how you attract the people that you want to work with. Are the people are going to be attracted to actual people. Like people buy from people. We all know that. So you have to set yourself apart as a person, that you're not just posting stuff about copy, but you also have a life that you live, and you're also a human being that somebody might want to work with. One big thing back when I was doing this was doing Facebook Lives. Robert Siegelquist does this pretty often, where like he'll just go live on his Facebook page and either like share something that he learned working with a client, or he'll just get on and like talk about random stuff. Lives are a great way to get people like noticing your profile, because that's really what Facebook wants people to do, is use their profile. So if you're going to do a Facebook Live, they're going to push you a bunch of people to watch it that are your friends. They're going to notify a bunch of people. So you just go on there, and again, it's just about getting noticed. It's just about people seeing your name, knowing what you do, and then eventually, you're going to get into this fourth pillar, which I've named sliding into those DMs. This is really where the action happens. Like Brian was talking, having those back channel conversations with people. But it comes down to that one pivotal thing of being a human being. You cannot go into somebody's Facebook messages and just immediately start hounding them like, hey, I'm a copywriter, here's my samples, hire me. It's like, that's not why I'm on Facebook. I'm really in the first place not on Facebook to do business, but I'm definitely not on Facebook to do business like that. Like if you just go and you just have a normal conversation, like if you friended somebody in the Nothing Held Back group, so this is really the structure that this whole thing follows. So you post in this group, you get some engagement on that, and anybody who engages with it, you add as friends, and you start having a conversation with them. What do you like? You just act like a normal human being. It's really hard to explain how this Facebook Messenger thing works, because everybody wants to overcomplicate it, and you need to just act like you're at an event. Like that's really what this whole Facebook thing is. It's just internet networking. Just pretend you're at an event, and you wouldn't just run up to somebody at an event not knowing who they are, what they do. They might be a business owner, they might be a copywriter. You don't know anything about them yet. You're not just going to run up to them and just like wave a bunch of stuff in their face and be like, hire me. You're going to go. So you got to treat Facebook Messenger just like you would be, in a normal conversation. And just go in, act like a human being, have a conversation, be interested in the other person, share stuff about yourself. And there's a natural point where this is, I think, very different in the US than it is a lot of other places. I think in the US, there's a lot more focus on what do you do for work. I think a lot of people talk about work way more in the US than they do in a lot of other countries, which is what I've heard. But there's like that natural segue point in a lot of conversations where you just get to what do you do for work? Like that's just a normal like thing that comes up in conversation after you've gotten through the, what do you like, what do you do? Just kind of naturally comes up.
Another good question is, how's business?
Right.
Just literally one contraction, house, and one word, business. 2 words, and people will go off of, oh, we're trying to launch this thing and this person's behind and whatever, and like they'll word vomit all over you, all of these amazing things that are going on inside their company behind the scenes. And then you can just pick one and say, oh, you're having a problem with this, your email copywriter's late, want me to help you?
Right.
And they're like, yes, please. So how's business is another good, easy one to drop in there.
Yeah, that's really good. And it actually brings up the, once you do get into that, that's really how you qualify people. if you're not a phone person, you don't have to get on the phone with people. But I've found that getting on calls with people really, like, that's where they're more apt to run you through stuff, and you can get inside their business, and they'll give you a lot more access than just some random person on Facebook if you're willing to jump on a call with them. So like Brian was saying, when you get to that business thing, as soon as you ask that question, they're just going to vomit all over you with all this stuff that's going wrong with their business, and like all this stuff that they're mad about, because at the end of the day, people want to have a conversation, and they want to be able to vent about their feelings, and they want to be able to, just put all this stuff out there that's wrong and have somebody fix it. Like that's really what clients want when they hire you, is they want you to come fix their problem. So they're going to share their problems with you, and it's going to be totally natural. You don't have to force it. So once you've identified, they've told you all this stuff, and it's like, I have all these problems. All you have to do is, do you want to hop on a call? I'm happy to, walk through some of that stuff and see if we can, get you an easy win. And that's the biggest thing when you're going to offer to do something for them, is find that easy win for both of you, because that way you're not doing a bunch of work. And whether you're doing it for free or a fee, like if you can find that easy win, it's a lot easier. Obviously it's easier. It's a lot easier for you, and it's a lot easier for them, because there's not this whole entanglement of this large project. Just find something super easy. Like if you've identified that their upsell is not working, we all know that the lead of the upsell is probably the biggest leverage point. So just say, hey, I'll write you a new lead for that upsell, and we'll see how it does. And whether you do that for free or whether you charge for it, like it is what it is. And that goes into the whole, Brian can teach you how to do all that stuff. We don't really need to dive through that on here. But I feel like I've gone super fast. So I'm just going to kind of summarize exactly how all this stuff works.
Yeah, Rick also had a question too.
Let's do questions, because that's probably the easiest way to do it, because I really don't know what people want to know and what people don't want to know. So Rick, if you want to pop on and ask your question, happy to roll through whatever you got.
Yeah, so like, say the person is really new, they've done a couple one-offs, but really never gained results. How would you present that to a client who's obviously looking for what results can you produce?
I think that comes down to, so there's two things there. I think Brian has a lot of good insight on that. And some of the insights that I have are, there's clients out there that don't want, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but there's clients out there that don't want the guy with a lot of wins, because they know that a guy with a lot of wins is going to cost them a lot of money. So you might not have a lot of wins, but if you've done one-off projects, maybe you don't have data, but you've done the thing before. Like there's tiers of clients. It's the client that they're not going to pay you a lot of money, but they also know that you don't have a lot of experience. So like you kind of have to go with that, and they want to hire people that maybe don't have all that experience, but they know that they're going to be able to pay you a lower rate, but you can still come in. And then that's how you stack up the wins, is just kind of biting the bullet and doing that cheaper work and getting those wins. I'd love to hear what Brian has to say about that though.
Yeah, so you're not looking for every client, you're just looking for the right clients, and the right clients differ depending on you, where you're at, and you're trying to find a match. It's really finding, when people say I'm looking for the fit, that's not bullshit. It's actually real. The clients that are right for me now at this stage in my career are not the ones that I was working with 5 years ago. And so again, you're not trying to get everyone, you're just trying to get the right people. So if you look at that article that I just posted in there that I wrote, like I talk about how do you position yourself as if you're a beginner. Well, I personally recommend getting on the phone every time you can, because you can get way more context if you have dialogue. But if you find out this client is, you manage to get on a call with like a V-Shred or a Natural Health Shred or whatever, and they're like, yep, we have 50 grand is our budget, we want an A-lister, we need this to convert, like boom. And you say, you know what, that's awesome. That's not me though. I'm earlier in my career, so that's not a fit, but I'm happy to recommend you to these people that I know who are at that level. If you're talking to a different client, if a different client were on the phone with Stepan, he'd be like, hey, you know what, I'm operating in this different space, so we're not a fit, but let me refer you to some copywriters who are in that zone. So specifically, some of the things you can do though, if you are a newer writer, you can say, listen, I am a little bit early. I'm a more junior copywriter. So, there are obviously benefits and drawbacks to that. But I also want to talk about, if you were to hire a more experienced copywriter, typically they're booked up in advance. So, if you don't have a month or 2 months to wait on some other top copywriter's waiting list, if this needs to be done now, one of the benefits of me being relatively new is I don't have a big backlog. I'm available now. I can get started tomorrow. So if speed is of the importance to you, I am a better choice than a more experienced copywriter because they're booked up. Guess what? They also cost you a bunch more money. And because I'm in Copy Accelerator, I'm investing my own money to improve my skills, to get feedback on my work. So you'd actually get a better product for a more affordable price. You get comparable results to a more experienced copywriter because of the investment I've made in my development being in Copy Accelerator. So not only are you getting a equal, if not better work product for a lower price because of my relative newness to the business and I'm coming up, but also you get it faster because I'm available now, whereas another copywriter, a more experienced copywriter, is probably booked for the next few weeks or months. So those would be some specific ways that you can do that to position yourself against someone who's as a newer writer. But then again, you have to recognize that someone like me, I'm saying, yes, you know what, if this is if you truly don't have the time to do this right and you just need it done fast and results are not really that important to you, then yes, you can hire a more junior writer. But if it really matters and you want this to be a success, you need this to be a success, you need to make that investment in a more experienced writer who's able to deliver those top level results on in a more reliable and consistent manner. And that's why I charge what I do. It's for that additional certainty and that additional experience. So that's the conversation I'm having. And if so, you got to recognize that each of at these different stages you're having different conversations, and you're just like your unique mechanism is like positioning you against everyone else in the market. You're sort of doing that for yourself, and the right clients will gravitate towards the way you are presenting that pitch. So if someone's like, yeah, you know what, we need this faster, or we just don't have that budget, then they're not for me. If you can find someone who's got a bigger budget, but it's urgent and they're like, shit, yeah, we don't have time to wait around for somebody else, we'll give you a go because you're here, that gives you the edge. So those are some examples. Hopefully that's helpful to see how you can play it at different phases.
I really like that. And I think another thing is when you talk about getting on calls with these people, is as soon as you start going through their stuff and you're identifying stuff that's wrong and how you can fix it, as soon as you position yourself as that expert, they're probably not going to ask you, about how much experience you have. Like as soon as you identify yourself as, we're going through your funnel, clearly your upsell is not working, let's rewrite, we should probably rework your upsell. Then it's as soon as you identify yourself as that expert, they're not going to be like, well, how many upsells have you written? Who have you written upsells for? Like, as soon as you already know what the problem is and you're telling them how to fix it, they're not gonna go back and reference check you. It's not like a normal job where it's like, we're really looking for somebody with 3 years of experience, and if you don't have 3 years of experience, regardless of how good you are at it, we don't want you. Like, these are just people that as soon as you identify as yourself as even one step ahead of where they're at, and that's what Copy Accelerator is really good at doing. Is like, you have all this training around what you should do first, and as soon as you dive into their funnel, you're going to know what you need to do first. It's pretty obvious.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I found that like that type of positioning is almost what you do to get the call in the first place.
Right.
Because they may not talk, like if they don't have that level of implicit trust, they may want to know like your relative skill level. But again, that's where you can use that positioning. So yeah, that's figuring out what the benefits are to what you offer compared to some of the downsides. Right, there's downsides to working with a copywriter at every level. There's a trade-off. Stefan, super expensive, but you also get a lot of certainty because he's got the best win rate, right? So it's like, what's more important to you, the budget or the win rate? If the budget's more important, then you can't get the best win rate. That's just the way it works. So what's the trade-off? And the more you lay out those trade-offs, the more you come across as that expert of like, here are your options. You can go super expensive, very certain. And I know those people if you want an introduction. You can go middle of the road, where it's a little bit more affordable, but your odds of success are down, and you probably have to wait a long time. Or you could come with someone who's like me, who's newer. It's much more affordable, and you get the copy faster. So if this is going to be a testing scenario, we can get a lot more tests out the door a lot more quickly. We could have 3 tests live before you even get the first word of copy from somebody who's in that middle bracket and has a 2-month waiting list, right? So then once they're like, oh my God, you explained everything, I want this one. Then you just be the consultant and say, okay, option A is me, let's work together, or option C is Stefan. Hey, I'll introduce you to Stefan.
And that can even lead to more work for you. Like even if you don't get hired by that person initially, A, they might hire you down the road after you get some more experience, or B, they're going to refer you to other people because it's like, this guy actually helped, or this guy or gal actually helped me. Like,
Yep.
That's the biggest thing, is everybody wants to use the cliche of giving value, but like, how long does it take for you to be like, yeah, this isn't a fit, but I can recommend people to you? And you have a slate of people in CA that you can be like, A, B, and C, here's your options. These are the best people that fit what you need.
Yep. Perfect. Cool. Does that answer
Um,
your question, Rick? Anything else? Awesome.
No, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Very
Sure.
insightful.
So
We had questions from Isaac, Brad, and let me see.
Sweet. I was hoping there would be some questions because
I don't know if this is for Grant or for me or for both of us or what, but Isaac, you jumped in. You're next in line, so hit us.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting question for me to ask in this case, because it's, on the one hand, I just got a project yesterday that I'm enjoying working with the team and everything like that. And then there was another referral that I got, which is something separate, with someone that basically, the referral I was expecting to be writing copying a new niche for myself. And I get on this call with this guy, and basically he needs help setting up his entire business. And it was just kind of hilarious to just be sitting there, just nodding my head. Like, I understand like what he's talking about while he's doing it. But he's in like crypto, and he needs like YouTube ads, and he's saying VSL when he's talking about, so all this stuff. And on the one hand, I know certain things well enough to be able to give advice on, but then he's looking for an answer to a 10-part problem that I know 4 parts of, maybe at most. And like, just finding a deliverable to try to get started on was its own thing. And so I guess the question that I have is, how do you guys recommend just obviously you can qualify so you don't end up in that situation as often, but like when you do end up in a situation like that where the scope of someone's problem is beyond what you came into, aside from just saying, yeah, this was just like not in alignment, how would you recommend going about that if you're trying to make something happen?
That's a tough one. That sounds like there is a very large risk that whatever you produce will never see the light of day. Because if this person does not have the execution systems in place to they're just getting everything off the ground. So it would be something different if Scott Phillips, who has a massive financial business, was like, yeah, we're launching this new thing and we're like getting it off the ground, and we need all this stuff, but would you come and do copy? Like, okay, he's got a track record. He knows what he's doing. If I give him copy, I'm pretty confident he would actually be able to move it forward.
Hilariously, that's who I thought I was going to be working with. he referred me to somebody else that he works with. And okay. Yeah.
Okay. So if it's not Scott, and so maybe this is where you need to pause and say, what's in the client's best interest? If they've never done this before, they're totally like green, wet behind the ears, whatever that phrase is. You need to say, look, there is so much that needs to happen before you are in a position to hire a copywriter. Like, you can't just throw money at this problem. It's very, very difficult to scale any offer. And the best thing for you would be to start small, get an MVP, test it, do everything yourself, get it working at a small scale, then hire the copywriter. Because otherwise you're going to spend a shit ton of money on a Hail Mary that has a very low odds of success. And so in your best interest, like I'm talking myself out of work here. I would be, I could just take your money and I wouldn't say this in this way, but like I could just take your money and do this project and with it and know that it would be very unlikely that it actually goes anywhere. But I'm doing this for you in your best interest, that you should not invest in a copywriter or anything right now until you've proven out that it's got legs. Once you've got that proof, then you'll have this business in its infancy ready. And then you bring me in, and then I become the gasoline you pour on the fire, and then it starts to scale. So I would be very wary of doing this project again, unless there's a track record of success and you know that they can actually pull it off. If they can't, I would then be doing that consultant role of saying, in your best interest, don't hire anybody for anything right now, except for maybe like building the product and like building out the actual material, because you don't even know if it's going to work. And until you know that, there's a high odds that any copywriter you hire is not going to work out, because it's not you haven't found the right offer yet. And that's like the most important part.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that is, because it's not resolved. So confusing about it, because he has a proven offer. They have testimonials. They have the money that they've made. It's in finance. Like he has the numbers and all that stuff. So on the one hand, like he's an expert in what he does. He knows what he's doing and all that stuff. But it's the fact that this business now, like what he's trying, like he just migrated his site over. He wants to move into different things, and he knows he doesn't know it well enough. So it's like on the one hand, he's like this super expert because he knows what he's doing and he has the offer and everything. But on the other, like getting like the traffic or the ads and stuff like that is new for him. So it's like a very teeter totter kind of thing. So it's not like a new business.
Right. So still though, to me the business model is the part that he has not proven out, right? He hasn't gotten traffic. He hasn't gotten it to convert. He hasn't gotten some initial scale. And to me, that should be a sort of minimum qualification, is that, or recognize that you are taking a massive risk anytime you're not working with a client who either has a significant track record in running offers and launching copy and executing on your work, or who has not proven out the business model, meaning everything from traffic sources to copy, ad copy, sales page copy, products, backend. Unless all of those pieces are in place and working at a small scale where you can come in and start incrementally boosting things, the risk that any one of those pieces is insufficient to the point where it will pull down the rest of the business and just crater the whole operation is massive. So being aware of that risk, advising the client of that risk is, to me, part of your job. And to Grant's earlier point, they will appreciate the fact that you gave them that sound advice, and maybe will refer you to others, or will take the time to build this thing on their own and then hire you when it is appropriate. But again, I think that unless you really need the money, in which case that's a totally different conversation. If you really need the money, I would never advise, like, I would say then you would have to tell the client, hey, listen, there's a lot of risk inherent in this, but I will do my best. Here's what I can offer you. And you let them take that chance on you if you really need the money. But again, recognize you're setting yourself up for the fact that this person that says, oh, I spent $3,000 with Isaac and his copy didn't convert, or like the project never went anywhere. And like, they still have that feeling of like, I paid $3,000 and this didn't get me where I wanted to, even though the problem was their expectations of what that $3,000 would do. You have to be aware that there is that risk. If it's not a success, no matter how good of a job you did, they're still usually going to find someone else to blame besides themselves.
Yeah, because that's the crazy thing about how first of all, coming into the call, my understanding was completely misaligned with what it was going to be about, because again, I got referred to Scott And then I thought, oh, like Scott would have a list he needs 2 emails for, and there you go. Like I'm just writing for a new niche, and I get set up with, what I mentioned. And so I was looking for just like a deliverable, like what you mentioned, like just something to do versus just trying to say, oh, like, hey, I can take my best shot at it. Cause again, like that's just, there's no integrity in that, particularly if I'm not going to be able to get the results or not know that I'm going to get them the results. So between all the things he talked about, he mentioned how he has like an email sequence that he'd like to get rewritten. So that's probably what I'm going to focus on, because I can always bring copy in a new niche to, to the group and stuff like that. Like that's fine. Like that I can always get worked on. But everything else is where like I don't know what to do. So I'm probably just going to focus on the one aspect that I'm actually good at and know what I'm doing, know that I can deliver on, and just say, like, I know this isn't everything you want done, but this is what I know that I could get results with for you, basically that idea.
Yep. Okay. That makes sense.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Brad had a question. So actually, let's see. Brad, you can jump in, and then if there's any questions, so any questions for Grant first before, unless Brad is your question for Grant. B, if it's not, is anybody have a question for Grant? Otherwise, he can stick around if he wants, or I would like to at least give him the opportunity to get some of his time back, and I can take the rest of the call.
My questions are, they're for Grant.
Okay, then
And
let's have it.
If you want to share as well, that'd be totally cool. So curious if, Grant, if you have recommendations on posting volume and frequency. So maybe is there like a minimum viable number of posts, say, per week that you put on your timeline, that you're putting in the groups, to kind of have enough visibility to have a foundation to get noticed and build those connections?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of that comes down. So one thing that I kind of glanced over on this was the Facebook algorithm. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it really, it's not about volume, it's about consistency. So if you can commit to posting once a day, that would probably be optimal as far as visibility, because stuff just gets buried. Like the next day, somebody's probably not going to be able to see your post because there's just so much stuff going on Facebook. So I would say once a day is probably optimal. If you can do like 3 to 4 times a week, that would be probably minimum viable. And then a lot of it comes down to consistency. So like trying to do it at the same time each day. If you're going to do it daily, you're doing it at the same time every other day. If you're doing every other day, is the biggest thing there. It's not necessarily volume. It's about consistency. Like if you post one day and then you wait 3 days and then you wait a day and then you wait 2 days, it really messes up the algorithm. The algorithm likes consistency. So that's one thing as far as posting is it's really just more about consistency. And then the other thing is engaging before you post. So that's like the biggest thing as far as reach that you can do on Facebook is using their platform, because they want people, they're going to push people's stuff that use their platform. So if you go on and you go to post, just do like 15 to 30 minutes of engagement, what we call engagement, before you post. So that's going through your timeline, using the like button, but instead doing the heart emoji on the post, and then like leaving a comment. That, like, Facebook loves that crap. Like somebody that's going to use their platform, they're going to push your content out so much heavier. Like I know guys that do the same thing that get like 100, 200 comments on their posts because they're doing that. And because Facebook loves that. So they just start pushing their content out to everybody on their friends list. And when you don't do that, they limit your reach because they don't see you as somebody regularly using the platform. So they might show your posts to 5 people on your friends list. Even if you have 5,000 friends, they might only show it to 5 people. And it's all algorithm based, and it's super hard to beat. But the two biggest things are consistency and engaging before you post.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great insight. Let me just to clarify, like when you say every day, like ideally if you're posting every day, is that posting in one location, like your timeline or a group or another group, or is that multiple places?
So I would say that would be your timeline. I would try to hit once a week. And then I would try to like set up a schedule where, maybe you have 3 groups that you post in, and you do that, 3 times a week. So you post in group A on Mondays, you post in group B on Wednesdays, and you post in group C on Fridays. And like, I would obviously like try to switch that up so you don't look like you're just posting in this group like once a week, like clockwork, 10 a.m. every single Monday. So I would try to rotate them, but like the easiest thing to do is just set up, like just go into like Google Sheets and just write down what three groups you're going to post in, what day you're going to try to post in them, and then just keep that schedule and just keep posting in those same three groups. And maybe, you know, after 30 days, if one of those groups really isn't, the biggest thing about this also too, that I feel like is probably a fifth pillar, would be like some management of all this stuff, like making sure you're keeping track of people that you're talking to, people like groups that you're posting in, and who's engaging on your stuff, and what groups aren't getting any engagement from anything that you're posting. Like if you're posting in Cult of Copy and you get one comment every time you post, rather than when you're posting in Nothing Held Back and you get 20 comments on your post, you have to focus on the stuff that's getting you the more results. So the other pillar that should be on here, now that I'm thinking about it, is tracking, because like this stuff is, you could waste so much time doing things that aren't getting you a result. So like I said, if one group's getting you way more of a result, like you're having like 5 conversations a day, and that's leading to, you know, 2 or 3 calls booked a week that you're getting, you know, maybe 1 client a week from, let's just say for math purposes. And then you have another group where you have like 1 comment every time you post, and it's never led to a call, it's never led to a conversation. Kill that group and go find another group to post in. So that's kind of what happens when it comes to posting in groups.
Awesome. And I have one final question, if that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm good.
Any thoughts on repurposing emails into social content?
Like, do you have your own list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. Like, do that as much as you can, because you can take that email, like you said, repurpose it. And then, you know, if you want to hear more stuff like this, you know, join my email list and post that email list link in the first group, or in the first comment. That's one big thing when you are making posts, is make sure you have some sort of call to action. Keep skipping over stuff that's obvious, that's in this doc, but it's bringing out like the bigger points, is like having a CTA in every post, whether it's just, you know, heart this post, or like leave me a comment on what you think. Having that CTA and like forcing that engagement is going to push your stuff up. So the more people engage on your stuff, the more Facebook shows it to other people, and it just creates this feedback loop. And that's how you get, you know, you're in a Facebook group that normally the post gets 5 comments and yours has 40 on it. That's because right off the bat, people are engaging with it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we could dive into in the Facebook algorithm. If people have questions on that, like if you watch this, like you can feel free to ask me. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. But yeah, make sure you have a CTA on every post that you do, because it's just like any other form of copy. But yeah, back to your question, I would definitely repurpose emails, and not, you know, if it took you, you know, 30 minutes to write the email, I would use it, because it's just, that would be a waste of time to not reuse it, because there's people on your Facebook feed that aren't seeing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
For sure.
All right, Carolyn, jump on.
Sorry, thank you. I had a question, because you keep saying post on Facebook. Does the Facebook pixel give you as much credit for commenting and like reposting other people's stuff as it does if you make your own posts?
No, I would say the algorithm definitely pushes original stuff more than it does sharing stuff.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. The other thing when you're doing engagement before you post, if you're posting, is only do it on other people's stuff. Like don't do it for group posts, and don't do it for like ads and stuff like that. So just like other people's personal accounts, that's what you want to be engaging with, because that's who you want your content to be shared with. If you're posting on your personal profile. If you're posting in groups, you don't have to engage beforehand. It doesn't really matter.
Right. No, that makes sense. And then if you do a live versus you just post something, do you need a schedule for the lives too? Or is that something you can just do at random?
No, you can just do it randomly. Like if you're on, whether you're on your phone or computer, when you go to, let me pull it up so I don't just sound like I'm talking out my butt and don't know what I'm talking about. When you go to the post thing, to like post on your timeline, there should be the option that says live, and you can literally just click the live button and start doing a live video, and it'll just stream on Facebook. You don't have to schedule it.
Great. I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions for Grant?
I do want to make this like super actionable and like you can actually do something with this. So before we hop into another question, you mind if I just kind of run through like 5 minutes on just what you should take away from this and what you should go do?
Not at all. Go for it.
So the first step would be, if you don't have people in your friends list that are business owners that you could probably talk to, the first step for you would be to go join some of these Facebook groups if you're not already in them. Start adding people as friends from those groups, start posting in those groups. Anybody that engages with the stuff that you're posting in that group, add them as a friend, start having conversations with them, be a normal person in that sphere. So that would be the first step, would be adding people that are probably business owners onto your friends list, because you can do all this other stuff. And if nobody on your friends list is a business owner, like it's going to be a giant waste of time. So then the second step would be, changing up your profile so people can easily see like what you do, regardless of you don't have to do like the background image of like, I'm a copywriter. Like you don't have to do that. You can just do it in there's like a job description thing about like what you do in your about section that you can just change to copywriter or email copywriter or whatever term you use to describe what you do. So people that you friend can understand what you do, and then start posting on your timeline, a range of stuff, whether it's wins that you're getting, stuff you're doing in your normal life, just it's more about using it than what it is about you that you're posting. As long as you're like occasionally posting wins, or you're posting like a breakdown, like let's say there's I don't remember what the guy's name is. There's a guy I follow on Facebook there that does like a daily breakdown of like BioTrust emails and stuff like that. Like even if it's just like that, like it's still making you an expert. Even if you don't have wins, like you can still do stuff like that. I would do a live, like that'll really, pump up how many people are seeing your stuff. So that's the second part. So after you've added those people as friends and you're posting on your timeline, people can easily see what you do. Then the third step would be start having conversations with those people, like regardless of what you're talking about, just make sure that because that's the biggest thing with Facebook is you have to talk to these people. Like you can't just passively hope that they see your profile and hope that they know what you do and hope that they reach out to you. Like this is a very active thing, trying to get clients. So that's the actionable thing, is have people on your friends list that are business owners, post stuff that gets you noticed, and message these people and have conversations. That's all I wanted to say.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, Grant. So anybody else? Questions for Grant? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay. So now we can open it up to fully open Q&A. If anybody else has other questions, not for Grant, for me, just the usual open Q&A at the end of these calls, we can jump into that now. And Grant, awesome. Thanks for being here. Obviously, you're welcome to stick around if you want. Otherwise, you are free to, Grant, you can bounce off and get back to your day. And yeah, no, Isaac, it's all good. We did not have a structure for the questions until I started getting questions, and I realized we should probably structure them so that Grant could go first and then we can answer everything else. So it's all good. Don't worry about it. Brad shared a tip for a cleaner Facebook experience, which is something that crossed my mind. I'm starting to get way more notifications now that I've turned on some of iOS 15's focus mode to like basically block and stop myself from going on my phone. Facebook is now doing extra stuff to try to get me to come back and use the platform, because they can tell I'm spending way less time on Facebook. So might be bad for my reach, but it's good for my sanity and my productivity. So fuck them. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, Brad. And all right, we can jump into other questions at this point. Unless we've already answered all the other questions, in which case we can all go and have a good rest of our Wednesday. So any other questions outside or for Grant? Any other questions at all? Now is the time. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right, Rick said much love. He's gonna bounce and have a great day. So yes, everybody, have a great day. Thanks for being here. Thanks again to Grant for sharing such awesome information. And I will make sure that a link to that to Grant's doc gets posted in the members area along with this call. And until next week, good luck, everybody. Go out there, land some clients, close some deals, and get your Facebook organic marketing in order now that you know what to do. All right, see ya.
See you, Brian.